life.
Yeah.
That is the life here in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
Told so beautifully by an expat.
I ran away from home when I was 16 and bought a one-way bus ticket to LA.
We have a bona fide celebrity in the house today. You pick up one word a day. By the end of the year, you're speaking 365 words, let's say.
Give me a paper clip, some duct tape, and a match. And I'll fix it for you.
Any of you out there who are doing a business from home or running your business from home or have the flexibility, why not do it in paradise? Hi, and welcome to the Punta Cana Podcast. My name is Cheryl Henderson, your guide to Punta Cana living. And on today's episode, we are talking about managing a remote business and finding your expat community. We have with us today, Anthony Gaalaas. Welcome to the show, Anthony.
Hey, thanks, Cheryl. Good to be here.
Yes. So tell us a little bit about you.
Well, where to start?
I know, you have such an interesting history.
Yeah.
Why don't we start with what everybody always talks about?
Yeah, coming to the tropical island.
Yes.
Kind of a dream. It happened actually when I was young. I used to watch a lot of television, California television. All the movies were coming out of there and seeing the palm trees and the sand and all those kind of things. So I always wanted to move somewhere tropical. COVID hit obviously a little later on here and was sitting in Canada in the cold weather during COVID. Saw the TV show on Home and Garden Network. I don't know if you've seen the Home and Garden television. I think, well, they filmed here many times, right? I forgot they filmed here.
I've done it 2 times, actually.
Exactly.
Back in the day.
So was watching that program, and they've broken it up now into, because it used to just be international, or what they used to call it. I can't remember now what it was called, but
House Hunters International.
That's what
exactly.
It was. House Hunter, yeah. But now they've broken it into categories like Mexico life, Caribbean life. Mm-hmm. So, but I watch them all anyways, and just dream of one day, retiring and moving to the tropics somewhere and enjoying life, getting out of the cold weather. And I've lived in LA and did things like that, but always wanted to move to the tropics. So I was watching the program Caribbean Life, and they had Dominican Republic. And so I didn't know anybody who had ever even vacationed here or let alone moved here. But when I was listening to them and going through they were looking for and finding a condo near the beach and so on and so forth. So that's kind of sparked my interest, grabbed my telephone, booked a flight and came down to look around.
Wow. Yeah. So from the show.
Yeah.
Yeah, that show's been around a while. I remember when they actually first started back in the day, and they had called me, we did an episode, and we always knew when they were airing the episode because our website would just blow up. Yeah. So yeah, that's been a really, really nice a way to let people know that we're here, and you're here because of that show. So you just hopped on a plane and came on vacation and...
Well, it was more of a research because when I was watching the show and I saw them talking about how the price of real estate here at the time, because she was just saying like, I want a 2-bedroom condo, fully furnished, next to the pool, ground floor, 2 blocks from the beach, and all I was doing was cha-ching, 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 cha-ching.
Sounds good.
Yeah. Well, yeah, but it's going to be like, how much are you going to be paying for something like this? And then the last question they always ask is, what's your budget? And at that time of the show, 3 years ago, she said $120,000, and I'm like, there's no way you're going to get ready. I'm watching stuff in Mexico and, British Virgin Islands and different places, $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $1 million, whatever. And I'm thinking, there's just no way that this can happen. So I grabbed my cell phone and booked a ticket. And I'm like, I'm going down to Punta Cana to go check around and see what was going on down here.
Awesome. And when you came, what did you find?
Well, I was, like I said, on a mission. So it was all about real estate and looking around and talked to a few different agents and then got shown in some different places. Ended up in Cocotel, of all places, and just fell in love with the golf course. I've got 2 children. They're now going on 16 and 17. So I thought it was a perfect place for them at 12, 13 years old to be inside of a gated community and have some friends and go on the golf course and ride their carts around and meet other kids. So that's what we decided staying there.
Nice, nice. And actually, Cocotel is a neighborhood that is so perfect for that around the area. I actually live in Cocotel too, and I have kids, and you know, they're doing the golf cart thing, and it's really, really nice for raising families. So speaking of children, because many people ask about children, moving here with children, education, and you had preteens. So not babies, and they're not grown. How was the transition, or how did you manage that?
Yeah, it was quite the experience. Didn't know what to do, so did a lot of research ahead of time. What had happened was that trip was a 2-week trip, and then they closed the Caribbean off, at least to Canada that I'm aware of at that time. I think there's some other places around the world too that they did, so you couldn't get a flight in or out. And that they made that announcement approximately a few days before our flight was going back. So we flew back to Canada. My children didn't come with us at the time, so went back to Canada and told them that I was thinking about moving to the Caribbean, and relocating. And at first, it's hard, preteens, like you said, they're about 13, 14 at the time, and leaving their friends behind that they had just met, and so on and so forth at school. Started doing some research, got on some Facebook groups, started asking some questions about the schooling down here, started just looking on the map, finding places close to Cocotal. There's Bavarois Bilingual School, there's Bavarois Innovations, there's Punta Cana School in the Village, there's Heritage Cap Cana, so just did some research with those schools. And then when we were able to when the flights opened back up in July of 21 and fly down, went and started interviewing some of the schools and got the children plugged in.
Awesome. So they're adapting fine to Caribbean life?
Yeah.
It's a different pace.
Yeah.
I know it's a different pace. They're older too.
Exactly. So. And just coming to a place where there's sunshine and palm trees and beach, that's the hit for the first few months, and going to school and making friends and so on and so forth. So the first 6 months was a little rough. And then obviously we had lived, I'll tell you about that a little later, but we lived in the States, so they did some Spanish. And then we moved to Canada to go back and they wanted to experience the Four Seasons and Canada a little bit, so they were learning French. So then coming down here to a bilingual school, though, where some of the classes were taught in Spanish, it was a little bit of a curveball for them, again, for the first 6 months. But after that, they've picked up and they're doing good. My son's got another year left and he graduates, and so they're doing awesome. They've adjusted, no problem.
Yes. And that's what's most important, is that the kids do adapt. Yes. They adjust. I mean, for everybody, it's always a transition regardless. But over time, you adapt and get into a good, smooth rhythm.
Yeah.
And your kids speak various languages. And you're originally from Canada, right?
Originally from Canada, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, grew up in Canada for most of my years and then moved to the States. Did a lot of traveling. Just speaking of traveling and things like that, I ended up in Italy, of all places, and England. I was doing some modeling at the time. I didn't want to get into that profession, but it was kind of like, you should do this, you should do this. So I was like, okay, what the heck, I'll go see what I can do. Ended up in Italy, didn't like the modeling thing, but they asked me to do some TV commercials. I'm like, well, I don't even speak Spanish, what am I going to do? So they just said, no problem, just hold this up and smile and, hold up a box of cereal or whatever it was at the time, and did a couple commercials like that. And then I had an agent back in Canada, in Vancouver, because that was booming. X-Files was filming there. There was another TV show called Viper about the Dodge Viper car that would transform, and all this stuff was filmed in Calgary, Alberta, where I'm from originally. Okay. And so my agent said, hey, we're going to bring you back because there's more work for you here. And so I got into that and was either the cop or the bad guy for what my look was doing. One episode I had to rob a jewelry store or something like that on this TV show, and then did a few things on X-Files. I actually even did a movie with MC Hammer.
What?
Yeah, he was doing it was kind of like a biography thing. It was about a washed up rapper, which, of course,
Hammer.
MC Hammer himself, right? So it's kind of funny that he did that movie for a while. Did a movie with Elias Morales, who just played in Mission Impossible last summer. Did a movie in 1997. I did a movie with him in Vancouver, Canada. Yeah, so that's kind of how.
So we have a bona fide celebrity in the house today. Wow, right here in Punta Cana. Well, I am a huge X-Files fan. I mean, that was my show back in the day. So that is amazing. And it seems like that was a pretty interesting experience. How was that?
Yeah, that kind of got me on my jump start to kind of even leading to down here. Okay. Because my dream was always to move to Los Angeles. I ran away from home when I was 16 and bought a one-way bus ticket to LA.
Oh, how many of us have that story?
Yeah, pretty crazy. So I ended up in Los Angeles for about 3 or 4 months and then went back to Canada. But I always wanted to go back. I always wanted to get around. I like the sun, the palm trees, the sand near the beach, the ocean. I've always wanted to be there. So being in Vancouver was my kind of like launch to get into things. But I had some opportunities to do TV commercials, and that's what really kind of launched it, and I had a lot of fun doing that, more so making a lot more money as well too. I did one commercial for Claritin that aired on the final episode of Seinfeld.
Really?
Yeah. So
we'll have to go back and see that.
Yeah, we were having a Seinfeld party. I think it was like 96 I don't know, it was late 90s or something. They did that.
Right.
And we were having a little Seinfeld party, and I went to the kitchen to grab another bag of chips or something for something, like, hey, you're on TV, you know, on the commercials during Seinfeld. So that was neat. So I've had some great experiences, met a lot of people all over the world, traveled, things like that. Ended up in Los Angeles with an agent and continued doing some commercials and stuff like that. But, you know, you're growing up now. At that time, I was 30 to 32-ish. And, you know, just kind of like, okay, do I want to keep chasing this career forever? And because every time you meet somebody in LA, you know, what do you do? Oh, I'm an actor. Like, everybody's an actor.
Right.
Everybody's an actor or a producer or something in LA. You know, they all got a business card, but it's like, I'm an actor. And so after a while, you just started to say, oh, what restaurant do you wait tables at? Because they're all waiters. Everybody's a waiter,
That's
you know,
funny.
waiting for that big break to finally make it in the movies. So,
Right.
So yeah, and you know, went to different parties and things like that. But it just, there's a lot of politics involved in Hollywood as well too, and it just kind of wasn't my cup of tea. So I kind of got out of that. Ended up moving around a little bit more, but always had a desire to get out of the States and come to the Caribbean. So I'd made a couple trips to Mexico and Puerto Rico and different places around, you know, and started looking. So that's kind of like going all the way in a full circle, from Canada to the States, and then ended up back in Canada, like I said, to watch, to sit there in the snow in the cold weather with the fireplace and the blanket and the cup of cocoa and the big screen TV and watching home and garden television and saying, okay, that's where I want to go.
Do you miss the cold?
No. That's why
some people do, the skiers.
Yes, I know.
Like it.
I've got a friend that actually lived in Puerto Plata here for 7 years, but he goes, and it's reversed. Like, you got snowbirds here, right? So people come here for the winter, go back for the summer. He comes here for the summer to go do his kite surfing, and then he goes back to Canada for the winter so he can go snowboarding.
Exactly.
So
that's his thing.
To each his own.
Yeah, that's not my thing. My thing is sunshine, 12 months a year.
Exactly.
That's what I love, and that's why I'm here. So very, very interesting story. So you saw it, you had a dream from when you were young, and decided to come down, check things out, and apparently you liked what you saw.
Yep.
You have dreamed of the perfect Caribbean beach lifestyle. With Boardwalk Developments, we have the blueprint for you in this tropical paradise. Celebrate incredible returns when you elevate your investment portfolio with the hottest real estate in Punta Cana. Invest wisely, live lavishly. We'll show you how. Contact Boardwalk Developments, Punta Cana.
What actually helped you to make that decision? Because I'm sure there are many folks that are out there thinking, where do I go? You went to Puerto Rico, you went to Mexico.
Yeah.
What was
here?
it? Yes.
Yeah.
Why Punta Cana?
Yeah. Well, what really made me make the decision was what they would say, like, burning the boats.
Yes.
Because when I went back and decided to move down here, well, the hard thing too was that, like I said, it was COVID during that time too. COVID had hit, I think it was March of 20, so this is 21 now, but it's kind of like we kind of opened up, and that's when I kind of like, okay, we got to get there and figure this out, and then how do we get back? Because I was so afraid that I was going to get stuck in Canada and not be able to come back. So we were waiting and selling some things off on Marketplace, but yeah, I burned the boats. We sold everything. Car, furniture, everything. And we had just made the move from Texas up to Canada. So I just spent $5,000 on a movie truck to move everything up there the year before.
Wow.
And now we sell it all and came down with suitcases, a backpack, and a little Yorkie dog. And that was it. We were going and never going back.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you traveled with the pet. How was that?
Yeah, it was fine.
It was okay.
Not a problem. You know, just got all the little paperwork ahead of time that said they had the rabies and things like that, and the international kind of health package came down. Obviously, they wanted to check out all the paperwork, and that was fine. But we go back and forth now with the dog and don't have a problem. We're going again in another month. We go back to Canada. So we do go back to just kind of get away, escape the heat a little bit in the summers, and enjoy and go visit some family members and things like that. But yeah, I joke with people that say, I don't even own a pair of socks in Canada. Like, I have nothing, no car, no place to go. Like, we just book a flight, we get up there, we go, okay, where are we going this trip? Are we gonna stay in Ontario? Are we going to Vancouver again? Where are we going? And we just go for it.
Yeah. That's kind of nice. You have that flexibility and the freedom. Well, you know, down here, the great weather, of course, and now the lifestyle, but when you go back, you pack what you need and enjoy and travel or what have you.
Yeah. Here's my winter clothes and my fall clothes and my summer clothes.
No need
it's summer
for any
year
of that.
round. Yeah.
And you're actually doing business here, so you're not necessarily here retired. Many people move down retired, but you're working. Tell us about your business.
Yeah, I do have a credit repair business in the U.S. So we were remote since actually 2014. Decided to shut the office down, didn't really need it. So when COVID kind of came, it really didn't affect my business because everybody was already working from home, all my employees. And then I got a couple VAs in the Philippines that work for us as well too, remotely. So everybody was working remotely, so that was easy enough to do. And nowadays with so many online businesses, and I guess that was kind of the blessing even of COVID, was that, okay, everybody's got to go home and work from home on your computer. Well, then if you're going to work from home in Canada, the US, the UK, Thailand, wherever you're at, you can still move around the world. You might be on a different time zone.
Yes.
You know, so you might be working at different hours. But with me, I think that was another decision of moving here too, was the time zone. You know, I know we're Atlantic, so we can be an hour ahead of Eastern, but at least it was still close to the US hours.
Yes.
I didn't feel like I had to get up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to work or something like that. So that's what worked for me and my decision there. But it's been great. You know, everything's just, it didn't really matter if I was in Canada on my computer, whether I was in LA or New York or Miami or here. You know?
Okay, so then there really was no effect of the transition from an income or working standpoint because of the work from home?
If anything, it's helped.
Keep it going. Really?
Yeah, because what I usually tell people right away as I go, I'm in Punta Cana, or like, what zone are you on? And I'm like, I'm in Atlantic. And they're Atlantic. And I'm like, I'm out in the Atlantic. I'm in Punta Cana, Dominican Republic. And they're like, no way. You know, and then they want to know, like, how'd you move? Like, so everything you're asking me now is kind of almost what they're asking me on the phone, because and I'm like, come on down. I'll show you around, introduce you to Cheryl. We'll get you a house. We'll, get you set up. You know?
Right. Yeah. And you're involved with a little bit of real estate here too, aren't you? So this is almost like a gateway. You're talking to people. They can get their credit repaired and come down and visit and buy a property and change their lives or whatever, what have you.
When I went from Canada, I was telling you, from the acting business, one of the things I started doing was flipping houses in the Los Angeles area. And in 2004, it was like just huge. Everything was booming then. So I enjoyed that. And then I got into, actually, a buddy of mine was going, well, hey, now we're doing mortgages. You want to come work for us as a loan officer? So I was a loan officer for a couple of years as well. And then somebody came into the office talking about, well, what do you do with all the turn downs, all the loans that you can't do for, or all the clients that they can't qualify for the loan because of their credit? And I go, I put them in file 13. It's like, what can I do?
Circular file.
Yeah, like, hey, fix your credit and then come back and see me. Then we can help you. I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about credit at the time. So he's like, well, this is what I do, credit repair, and we fix people's credit. And we can help get those negative things off their credit reports, and then that way their score can go up, and now they can qualify for the loan. And so give me a few files. I'm like, here's all these files out of the trash can. Go for it. And he did. And I was able to get a few loans done for people. So then it was like, oh, this is kind of an interesting business. And I started feeding more and more, and I just wanted to learn more about it. And I didn't really build up, from my side of it, I didn't have like a built up clientele. It was more like cold calling or some title leads or things I was doing. And so it just wasn't my cup of tea. And the guy, when I left the office, he called me on my cell phone and says, well, what are you going to do? I said, I don't know. He said, well, come work for me. And I'm like, well, I kind of work for myself all the time. I like the independent 1099 thing in the States. So he said, well, why don't you sell the credit repair side of it? I'll do all the processing on the back end for you. So I threw up a website, made a brochure, went door to door, different mortgage offices, introduced myself, and said, hey, I can fix your credit, help your clients fix their credit so they can get this home loan. So I've been doing that now for 20 years.
20 years doing that business.
Yeah.
Well, I imagine you're not going door to door still.
No. That's all referral based now.
Okay, so referral based. Well, that's what happens after 20 years in the business. Yeah. And how nice that you can pick up that business and do it from literally anywhere in the world. Mm-hmm. And you're here with us in Punta Cana for the last few years. That is really amazing. And I'm really happy to have you here. And any of you out there who are doing a business from home or running your business from home or have the flexibility, why not do it in paradise like Anthony has done here?
Yeah. And then even remotely too, just to let people know that the internet's great here. I think the highest speed you can get that I'm aware of from Claro is 100 megabytes per second. And I don't have any downtime. I haven't had any electricity blackouts or like Mexico, I had a lot of that. Here, the internet's been good. Also VPN, I've got a free VPN on my computer. So some sites, when I do go to them, I have to use the VPN. Hasn't been a problem at all. So it really hasn't affected the business. remotely, doing on the computer at all.
Right.
It's been good.
If you want to get rich in real estate, download my PDF.
What are you looking for? What are your plans? You're going to continue doing that, and you're dabbling in the real estate here. Other ideas about?
Yeah, you want to hear one kind of crazy story that we did here?
I want to hear a crazy story.
People talk about flipping houses. You ever heard about flipping Hummers?
Flipping Hummers.
Do you know what a GMC Hummer H2 vehicle is?
The big wide
like
one
military.
that looks like a tank?
Yeah, there was the H1, and then they went to the H2, and they built them to make it look like the Humvee before they got the H3 going. Anyways, so the guy here had an excursion company with these Hummers. And he had moved back to, I think, again, COVID had shut the business down, and so he went back to wherever he was from. Long story short, I ended up buying 5 of these Hummers from him at a good price to just fix up a little bit, and then turn around and flipped them and sold them and made some money.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So you can do anything here.
Yeah, and as far as that and flipping and getting in touch with local people, you run or started an expat community as well.
Yeah, so I didn't actually start the expat group. It kind of got handed to me because I'm always the guy who's the social butterfly, or I'm always trying to what are we doing this week? Where are we going? I haven't heard. It's Tuesday and we're meeting on Thursday, and I want to know where we're going, and I want to bring some friends, and all this stuff. So they just said, okay, let's hand it over to Anthony. So I've run it for the last year or two, but it's been good. It's been good connections.
Oh, no, that's great. That's great. And it's nice to share that there are expat groups and expat communities, and where folks can get together, figure out where to go, to hang out, be social, or even to get advice. About who to call or what to do if you have this situation or whatever, what have you. Yeah,
well, just to kind of mention some of the topics that go on in the group, because it's not just for having a good time, but it's for information too.
Yes.
So a lot of people are, again, they move here, and so it's nice to get plugged in, whether you don't, like with me, coming here, I didn't know hola, that's my Spanish,
I was going to ask, ¿Cómo está tu español? How's your Spanish?
What? Excuse me? What did you just say? No.
No piqui English.
Lo siento, mi habla no español. I don't speak Spanish. That's it. That's what I've memorized.
Yeah, that gets a message across.
Which is, and for me, my excuse is I'm getting older, so I'm not a sponge like a young kid that can pick it up. But also my business is in the United States remotely and on the phone, so I'm English all day long. So it's my own fault. I'm getting out. I got Duolingo now, so I'm kind of learning a little bit here and there. But it's been funny that people have watched me communicate with body language. That's a universal language. It is. It's a universal language. It's amazing how much you can understand. And you kind of get just used to it. Like when the waitress comes to the table, and she's putting the menus out there, and then she starts to say something in Spanish. Well, what happens when you're back in Canada, the US? What does the waitress say? What would you like to drink? Yes. So I just kind of went with it and go, Coca-Cola. Cerveza, agua. Yeah, whatever, So it kind of okay, I was right. That's where she was going. So you kind of get the body language after a while. And then some of the repairmen, I'm doing noises. I'm like, okay, are you going to do the tap, tap, tap? And then the zzz, 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 And they're like, no, we do the zzz, 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 and then we do the tap, tap, tap. I'm like, okay. So we kind of figured it out. Perfect. So there are many ways to communicate here in Punta Cana. Not just speaking Spanish or Dominican, but the body language and the sign language. Yeah, when I first moved here, I couldn't speak a lick of Spanish either. I had to learn. Now, with me, I do speak quite a bit of Spanish throughout the day. So I've been working on my Spanish, and now my little kids are correcting me. So I have little teachers there helping me with my Spanish. But you can take lessons here too. You can get lessons online. You get lessons from some of the locals, or you get lessons from even some of the expats like yourself, that have been here for years that are now saying, and they've started their own little business here, saying, hey, I'm going to teach, I can do Spanish lessons. Yeah, many people are doing Spanish. Or they come here from France, and then they want to teach French, whatever. So, no, there's lots of opportunities here, and that was the good thing about the expat group and plugging in and meeting the people, because in our group, we have people from all over the world. all over the world. Like you can almost name any country and there's somebody who seems to be represented there. So it's been great too to network and find out what kind of businesses they're doing. Some people are running remote businesses, but there's some people that have come here, started excursion companies, bought a boat, taking people out snorkeling. Yes. They're taking them on tours around the country here, taking them to the capital, doing the old town, things like that. So there's so much opportunity and so much networking you can do here and everybody's super friendly. I mean, whether it's a Dominican, whether it's an expat, everybody here is so friendly. I love this country. I love the people, even from the police. I've had the police just be so friendly and guided you, or where are you from? What are you doing? Yeah. Slow it down, or, take it easy, or, oh, where are you going? Okay, yeah, you have to turn left up here. So it's been a great time, a really good time.
And that's one of the things I really love about living here too, is that the people are so friendly, and people are generally from all over. We're all kind of in the same scenario. Yeah. So everyone is very helpful, very happy. We're all pretty much visitors here. Even many of the Dominicans, they're from other parts of the country. Yeah. So they're kind of transplants too into this area that's not like anywhere else in the country, because it's a very much a international tourist type of town with folks from all over. So sounds like you're able to get around without speaking Spanish, because I know that's a question that people ask, like, do I have to speak Spanish to move?
Yeah, don't fear that. Don't think that you have to speak the language before coming. Just come on down like me. Like I said, I knew like one word. Like that was it. Maybe baños too, because that's important.
That's important. Well, that's one of the 4 words that I knew when I moved here. I knew, ¿Dónde está el baño?
I didn't even get that. I'm just like, baño. Like, exactly. Just point. Like,
exactly. Cross your legs and do a little dance.
Por favor.
That's that nonverbal communication, and it works.
It works.
And when you're down here, what I've learned is people are really helpful. They try to help you learn the words, and if you pick up a couple of words every day, or even one, you pick up one word a day. By the end of the year, you're speaking 365 words, let's say. I mean, how many words do we actually use?
You're making me feel bad now.
No, I mean,
I haven't got 365 yet.
But you know what?
I'm trying. I'm getting there.
It's about the intention.
Exactly.
And for you have work that doesn't even require you to speak Spanish, but you get around in the area.
Right. Yeah.
And you might be surprised about how many words you actually do know.
Yeah.
We start picking it up.
Yeah. Now that I've been here enough too, I can understand what they're saying. I can pick up enough words that I know what they just said to me. Now, for me to speak back to them in Spanish is a little difficult. My brain and my tongue's just not connecting to speak Spanish back. But at least if I can understand them, we can have some communication there. So it does work in the long run. English and Spanish are kind of the opposites. And everything I find is backwards too, right? Because like I'll say Macau Beach, where no, it's Playa Macau.
Yes.
So those words, so if you're going to form a sentence and put those words together, you have to
start
and French is like that too.
Yes.
So French is a little bit easier, transitioning to Spanish, things like that. Yeah.
Yeah, and French, Spanish, and Italian are all very similar languages. So if you're meeting
Portuguese too, a little bit.
A little bit. Portuguese is a little bit like Spanish in some ways. Some of the words are similar. Yeah. So I could imagine that Europeans would have an easier time picking up that. Many of them speak 3, 4, 5, 6 languages. As Americans or well, even Canadians. Do you speak any other languages? Like
no.
Okay, so French.
Even though I took French in school, because we're on the west. I was on the West Coast.
Okay.
I didn't grow up in Quebec or something like that.
So we have a West Coast Canadian in the house, eh?
Yeah.
But the kids, they pick up like a sponge, and really, at the end of the day, if you want to learn, you will. Yes. If you need to learn, you will. Yeah. But you can definitely get around here in the meantime. Yeah. That's good to know.
And then you find people that are here they're speaking Spanish and English. You'll meet your Uber driver. He's like speaking 5 languages or something like that. So it's like, okay, what language you want to speak? Oh, English. Okay, no problem. There he goes. Yeah. So you'll have that as well too. That there's a lot of people here because they're in the hospitality business, whether they're driving Uber or working in a hotel or a restaurant. They've learned a little bit of English as well too.
Yeah, they need to communicate.
Yeah, and they love it sometimes because they're learning English. So it's like you're teaching them as well, and then sometimes they teach you a little Spanish. So you have a little fun with it. Yeah.
Yep. Good to know.
Yeah.
Good to know. These are some of the top reasons you should stay at Hotel Las Flores in Punta Cana. The beach. That's one of the nicknames for the wellness area here at Hotel Las Flores. This is where you can enjoy yoga, meditation, and all types of feel-good activities. Namaste. I love the water. And here at Hotel Las Flores, we have a prosperity fountain. This is where you can come and attract abundance. And I love the way Christopher makes the cocktails. Pina colada is my favorite. I mean, look at this. The flowers, the garden, the pool, the tropical ambience. Need I say more? You can get relaxation and holistic massages with Nati. The beds are so comfortable. You sleep like a baby. And the views are spectacular. We'll see you soon at Las Flores Hotel in Punta Cana. So with the expat groups, just to give the folks out there a little sneak peek inside, what are some of the questions that people are asking mostly in those groups?
Yeah, the biggest thing I think is just information of coming to a new place and what some of the services are like, whether it's a repairman, a mechanic, where can I get my hair done, my nails done for the ladies, even, and then the biggest one, obviously, is real estate. And I think for all of them, as I just say to people, try to get a recommendation.
Yes.
Because people that have lived here for at least a year or two or three have had some experiences. And I just always kind of joke around with some of these guys and, bless their heart. Like, again, they're all sweet and kind and they want to help you. Even on the side of the road. I mean, I remember one time I had like a little flat tire and these guys are all running over and trying to help you change it, or I can put a plug in it, or I can do this or that. And everybody wants to help. So that's good. But not everybody is as skillful,
yes.
And has the education or the training. They don't have that formal training. They've just learned as they've gone along. So sometimes you see some of the repairs and you're kind of like, how did you figure out how to do that? Remember that TV show MacGyver?
That's so funny.
Is that I was going to say that?
Ready to say that.
Yeah.
We have a guy, we actually call him MacGyver because he fixes everything with duct tape.
Yeah, give me a paper clip, some duct tape, and a match. And I'll fix it for you.
Everything. You can tell where he's been because there's duct tape.
Yeah.
So I think that is super advice because it's true.
No.
Everyone is so helpful. They really want to help you. They never say no. Mm-hmm. They know where you want to go because they've been there before, even if they haven't. Yeah. And so I think that's really good advice. If you can get a recommendation from someone reputable who has proven themselves, that's always so much better than somebody saying, oh yeah, I can do it, or let me help you, or I know somebody, but make sure that they've actually have a proven service.
And the biggest one, if I can share this too, with you being in real estate as well too, is also be careful because that's one of your largest purchases.
Yes.
It's different if you got a toaster that needs to be fixed, or maybe a door or something or a window. But when you're coming down here and you're going to buy a property, you want to know what the laws are. You want to know how everything works. Yes. So try and get with a reputable realtor. They've got experience. And again, that recommendation. That's someone who's used them, because there's lawyers that get involved here. It's a little different in different countries compared to here. And that's the biggest thing, because I've heard a few horror stories before that's happened to people. So you want to really get with someone who people have used, can trust, have a reputable name in the industry here.
Yes, and I really appreciate that. And this is one of the reasons I wanted to do this podcast, was to showcase some of the professionals, the people who are doing business here, the people who can be a source of information here for those who are still sitting at home and who have not made the decision to come here, because you don't want to come here blind. You don't want to come here and have the taxi driver to show you properties. Are they qualified? I mean, they could. They have a cousin or an aunt.
That's another thing I wanted to bring that up too. Everybody I've met here is a real estate agent. Just like I said, everybody in Hollywood's an actor, waiting tables. Well, everybody here is a taxi driver, an Uber, or whatever they're doing. But, I'm an agent. Yeah. And they'll take listings, somebody else's listings, put it on Facebook.
Yes.
And then you call them and they're like, yeah, I can show you this property. And then they call the agent of the property and then they arrange it because they want to make a commission in between or middleman it. So I see that a lot going on too.
There's some of everything going on. And I really appreciate that you make that comment about that, because this is what I say. Mm-hmm. And there are horror stories, and there are people who don't get what they wanted or what they expected. And then I asked them one or two questions and it's so obvious that they were not informed, they were not working with a professional, or they didn't want to pay the lawyer's price who speaks perfect English and who works in real estate, and end up with a lawyer who's from, I don't even know where some of these towns are. I'm like, where did you find that lawyer that is like requesting a price that is a price that's not even realistic, but it's low, and they never get what they want. And a lawyer who doesn't speak English, for example, or because there are lawyers here who speak English, there are real estate professionals who speak English. A lot of your service professionals here do speak the language, so make sure you don't sacrifice that.
Right.
Maybe it will cost a little bit more, but you want to get your objective met.
Don't take a shortcut.
No, don't take a shortcut, not on professional services, because that's what you need them for, and the communication is so important. I think that is incredible advice that you're offering. And are there any other questions that are really
Cars,
popular?
automobiles.
Okay.
Should I import my vehicle? Should I bring it with me? Or should I just wait and purchase one there? The thing about the imports as well is that I think you can only import anything that's 5 years old. Within 5 years. Anything that's 6 or more years old, you can't import it here, which is kind of nice because you don't get all the junkers on the road. I'm really surprised when I'm driving around here. I'm always seeing these new cars, nice cars and stuff like that.
Even some models that aren't even in the United States. There's some European or Asian model cars that are SUVs. It's like, what is that?
Yeah, you see the names of them on the back of a vehicle and you're like, I don't recognize that name at all, so, but yeah, importing your vehicle, it can be done. I don't know anybody I know people, again, in the groups, and that's one thing I recommend is some of the groups you can join up with, but ask those questions. Hey, has anybody ever imported their vehicle? What should I know? What should I do? How does that work out? And you can, and there's ways to do it, and it goes through, the shipping port out of Miami and gets to the customs here and goes through and pays the taxes and whatever, and you can get your vehicle here. If it's gonna cost you money to bring it here, so you need to calculate that into what does it cost to purchase a vehicle here? Because it does cost a little bit more. So some people are like, I'm just gonna bring my vehicle instead of buying one because that car is $5,000 more. Well, usually it's about $5,000 to get your vehicle here.
Exactly.
Approximately.
It balances out.
Yeah.
In the beginning, I did attempt to import a car, and it did not end well.
Okay.
I made all the mistakes. I mean, I did exactly what we're saying here not to do. I went a route that I thought would save me some money.
Yeah.
I thought I could take the car through Puerto Rico, and that was just a really big mistake.
Okay.
And I did not end up with the vehicle after a while because of that. So don't take the shortcuts. Now you know what I do? I go to the dealer. I pick my car and drive it off the lot. Happy. So it's good to have those groups out there to help people and to give them that advice, because when I moved here, there was nobody for me to ask. So I actually stepped into a lot of the potholes. I actually invested in real estate that actually didn't go anywhere. I could write a book about horror stories, just personally speaking.
Cheryl's book on what not to do.
Oh my goodness. But this is why I'm very passionate about what I'm doing here today, is helping people, informing people, and not only from my perspective, but from folks like you who've been there, done that.
3 years, that's all I've been here for, and I've experienced a lifetime almost in 3 years.
Exactly. So I appreciate having you to share and tell your story here with us.
Hi, are you a U.S. veteran looking for a change for the better? If so, join us on our monthly tours to Punta Cana for veterans. We have lots in store for you. Click the link in the description. Now, back to the episode.
Anything else that you may want to share with the folks, just to give them some sneak peek, insight, or most asked questions?
One of the biggest ones too is safety. Is it safe coming to this country? All countries you're going to travel to, do you want to know where's a safe place to live, or is it safe overall in general? And I've found that, like, I've gone to Puerto Plata, we've driven all the way up there and back, I've been around Santo Domingo. And the country overall, especially Punta Cana, is very safe. I've known people that have moved from other countries, that have moved from tropical countries here. Because they felt even safer here than they did in their own country.
That's true.
Like I said earlier, I was talking about the police are very friendly and stuff like that, but it's very safe. You meet a lot of people when I'm walking my dog on the beach here and going past some of the hotels, the resorts, and you start talking to people at the resorts, and they're like, the first question they ask me is, how'd you get the dog in the hotel? And I'm like, I didn't. I live here. And they're like, oh my God, you live here? And then they start asking you questions and so on and so forth. But one of the things they talk about is like, so what's the area, like you live here, is it safe? So they're asking that at the hotels, and the expats are asking that online as well too.
Yes.
And it's a valid question.
Yes.
Like I wanted to know that too, because I brought my 2 children down.
Yes.
Do I just let them run around Las Corrales and it's okay? Or do I lock them up? Like, how do I do that?
So how do you do that?
Yeah, lock them up. No. No, it's been very safe. I kind of even feel safer here than like Toronto or New York. Or even LA.
I love hearing you say that,
Yeah.
because I have said that myself for me and my children, because when I got here 18 years ago, my son was 4. And so I've raised children here. And my little ones now are 9 and 11, and I really do feel safe.
Yeah.
And I actually feel safer raising my children here and being here than when I'm in the States. People are not losing it like you see in other places, or snapping, or being too stressed out, or even some of the other crimes that you see in other areas. This area to me feels very safe, and I have felt safe here all the years that I've lived here.
In 3 years, I think I maybe heard one time of any kind of crime per se. Like I don't hear, like I'm in a lot of the groups and things like that on Facebook and different WhatsApp groups and stuff, and I never hear like, oh, there was a shooting in my area, or so-and-so got, now there's accidents, that happen from time to time, and it's a little careless, and driving here can be a real challenge.
Ooh, that's a different story.
We'll save that for a whole nother, that's a whole nother episode.
Story.
We'll
driving in the
Dominican Republic. We'll save that one. Overall, like I said, I haven't heard it.
Yep.
And that was one of the other things about moving here.
Yes.
I got kind of tired of that. Like I grew up in Canada, lived there for half my life, then moved to the States, lived there for 20 years. And in both countries, I was just like done. I just wanted to get out, and I wanted to get here. And I don't have cable television. I don't know what's going on in Canada half the time, or United States.
Do you need to really? Some of that, no.
Why? We live in paradise.
Exactly.
I
love it.
It's not going to get any better, but it's not going to get worse. And so when you hear the news, and it's like this happened, and this shooting, and this is going on, and that happened, and it's just like after a while, it's like even politics, I'm just like, turn it off.
Yeah.
I'm going to the beach. I'm going to relax. I come home. I'll go watch maybe a Netflix at night or something like that. Sit by the pool, have some iced tea, go to church on Sunday, and I'm just, tranquila. That's just. That's
the life. Yeah. That is the life here in Punta Cana in the Dominican Republic.
Yep.
Told so beautifully by an expat who moved here a few years ago with children, with a pet, remote business. I really love it. As a part of our show, we like to take a question from one of our subscribers. So let's see what we have here for you. Pick one of these questions.
Oh, I get to pick it, huh?
Yes,
okay.
You get to pick.
This is like the lucky number or something.
Yes, let's see if you get the lucky question. Okay. How do I find the expats in Punta Cana? Well, that's a good question.
Yeah, that's a great question.
How would somebody find the expats?
Well, how I started, if you don't know anybody here that's connected and you want to start with Facebook right away. There's a lot of Facebook groups. Even if you just go into Facebook and do the search and just put expats of Dominican Republic, things like that. There's like a few that I know right off the top of my head there's expats of Bávaro, I believe it is. There's expats of Dominican Republic, and then if you're living in different places like Punta Cana, there's one. Puerto Plata, there's one. There's different places like that. We do have a group here locally in Punta Cana area, in the Las Corrales area, and we sometimes go down to the village, or so it's ranging from people. We have people that come from Cap Cana. If you don't know where that's at, you'll just get your Google Maps out and find it. But we got people from Cap Cana that come, from the village that come, right here to Las Corrales and Cordacito area that come out. We'll meet sometimes weekly, monthly. On the WhatsApp group, there's a lot of information. So again, those people that want to ask specific questions here, like, hey, can you recommend a good plumber? Hey, can you recommend a good AC guy? Hey, can you recommend a good mechanic? And you'll get 4 or 5 people chime in and go, I've used this guy, things like that. So that's group. So that group is a great way to get plugged in, and then you come out and we meet with each other. And again, like I said, there's people from all over the world, so you can connect and ask questions, or you're planning a vacation. And then networking, what do you do? What do you do while you're here? Oh, I'm working remotely, or I have a business here. I have a nail salon. I have a hair salon. I'm a mechanic. I'm a massage therapist, whatever. Mm-hmm. So then we start to help each other as well too in the group. So you've kind of got that support group when you come here right away. Yeah. That's awesome.
That's awesome. And people really are very helpful. Mm-hmm. Would you recommend that folks connect with these groups before they are expats, or wait and connect with the groups when they're ready to move. What would you recommend?
On the social media groups, especially the Facebook groups that I had mentioned at the beginning, I would get plugged in right away. That's what I did right from Canada before I came down. Okay. So I literally plugged in, because those questions are there. You can search the questions out, and they'll pop up right away for you, or just go ahead and ask that question. Like, hey, I got 2 kids and I want to put them in school. Can you recommend some good schools? Or, I need a daycare. Or should I import my car? Like we said, all these kinds of questions. Doesn't matter what it is. I bet you $100 somebody's already asked that question probably 10 times already.
That is beautiful. Yeah. So if you're thinking about moving to Punta Cana, living in Punta Cana, go online, connect with expat groups, ask those questions, search the questions because the answers might already be there, or ask the questions to get the latest and greatest so you are in the know. That is incredible. And I want to thank you, Anthony, for coming out today and being a part of the episode, Punta Cana Podcast, and sharing your experience here with us. I am very sure that many people will learn a lot and maybe even make contact and join those groups. So let's grow the community. And thank you so much for being a part of it.
No, it's been great to be here. Thank you for having me. And again, if you want to get connected, I am on Facebook and Instagram, things like that. If you just want to even ask me that question, or how do I get plugged into the local group, I've got access to the WhatsApp group, so I can plug in. So I would suggest that once you've moved here, get plugged into that group and come out to one of our events and just meet some people and network and go from there.
Amazing, amazing. Well, there you have it. Thank you so much for watching this episode of the Punta Cana Podcast. Be sure to comment and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one.